right, all right, all right. It is the season where we get to eat a lot. The holidays, they're here. And this is the period where we get to take a lot of junk, we take a lot of food. We're going to be having a lot of eating this period. And with eating, you have to be very careful what you eat. Not everything you eat is right. To talk more about nutrition and what we have today, we have Abasiani Atim, who is a distinguished clinical dietitian, nutrition content creator, and media dietitian, widely known as AN or TLD. Our expertise is further enhanced by specialized certification in community nutrition and therapeutic nutrition. And in nutrition, we're going to be talking about the sugar debate. Sugars versus sweeteners. We're happy to have you here on Wake Up Nigeria.
Hi, Edgar. I'm great.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm thankful.
That's
it's
awesome.
the end of the year, so
It is the end of the year.
there's lots to be thankful for.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So let's talk about sugar. Now, sugar and sweeteners. What is the difference? What's the difference between sugar and sweeteners? I think they're the same.
No, they're not the same, and they're different types of sugars.
Ooh.
So sugars are natural, like naturally occurring. We have different types of sugars. So the sugar debate is actually sugars versus sweeteners. The
Sugars.
Because there's so many of them. Now, I would like to say to those Nigerians that say, oh, I don't take white sugar, I only use honey. Low budget Bridgerton. Let me just tell you.
You say low budget Bridgerton?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Okay.
Because you're feeling bougie, but there's nothing to be bougie about.
Okay.
They're all in the same category. So let's list the types of sugars that are available.
Tell us.
There's white. White sugar, which is the most common one. It's cheaper, it's more accessible, it's readily available. There's brown sugar for the slightly elitist humans. There's honey. There's date sugar.
Okay.
There's also date syrup, as we've come to know, because a lot of people are starting to manufacture these things.
That's also a type of sugar.
That's also a type of sugar because dates are sweet, right? So that's why they're used like an alternative sweetener in drinks. Okay. So you have those. You also have things like date powder. Okay. So the dates themselves can be crushed into powder, right? So I've mentioned white sugar, brown sugar, honey, date powder, date syrup, date sugar. These are all different types of naturally occurring sugars.
Okay.
Now, if you look at the nutritional composition of these different sugars, you'd see that the difference in the sugars and the carbohydrate present in each of them have slight differences, like slight margins.
Okay.
So it's like if white sugar, for instance, contains about 70% pure sugar, maybe brown sugar contains about 72. Honey contains 69. So you can say that the differences are not so much. Now, what makes them different from one another, apart from that nutritional composition, is the extras that are inside. For instance, honey has other properties. It's anti-inflammatory, it's antifungal.
Wow.
It has other properties that will make you interested in it. If you're taking dates in its raw form or with the syrup, you might get some content of fiber. So it's interesting to check. But you cannot say that these different types of sugar have like a health benefit. It's not really like that.
Before we get to the health benefits,
Yeah.
let's talk about sweeteners. What are sweeteners?
So these are artificially created stuff in the lab or in food production houses.
Okay.
So they are made to imitate sugars.
Sugars.
Yes, without
right.
giving you the taste. But in the real sense of things, they're about 700 times sweeter than sugar.
They're sweeter.
Yes, but they have masked the taste in the production process.
Okay.
So things like stativa, saccharin, maltose, dextrose, these are all...
What do they sound like Spanish women, like sativa, saccharin? They also, don't mind me, I'm just
Well, you have a point there.
Yeah.
So all of these things are formulated in the lab, right?
Okay.
They don't taste like sugars. They are used in drink production processes.
Okay.
They are also, you'll find them in sachets, maybe on the plane, in hotels and things like that. So stativa, for instance, which is one of the most common ones. And people will say to themselves, oh, it's a sweetener. It's not as sweet as sugar. It doesn't taste sweet, so it does the right work. Now, like I said, they're much more sweeter than sugars, up to 700 times sweeter than sugars. And they also have poor health benefits.
All right. So
in comparison to those other ones.
To the health now.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about what sweet.
No,
we're saying
we're
to
not.
the health.
We're looking at health, purely health.
Which is better, sugar or sweeteners?
Sugars, because they're naturally occurring. The sweeteners are chemically formulated in the lab. So apart from the fact that they're much more sweeter than sugars, they also have digestive implications. They cause problems in your digestive system, from disrupting the whole digestive system, upsetting the microflora, that's like the microorganisms that are in your stomach for digestion. They can also cause gut issues, just make your life generally uncomfortable.
All right, so let me give you a good scenario here, and you just advise me, okay?
Okay.
So I had this thing that happened in my house one time. I was trying to make gari, and I kept putting sugar, different cubes. I had like 8 cubes, and then somebody just said, exactly. They were like, Edgar,
What's going on?
What's going on? What do you want to kill yourself?
I want to ask you too, what's going on?
But the gari was not sweet.
Wow.
So the question I have here is, when is it too much? When is sugar really too much? Because the people tell me, Edgar, you take too much sugar. I'm like, it's just 7 cubes. Just 7 cubes. So I really want to know, when is sugar too much?
Okay, so we all have different taste buds.
Exactly. Please let me tell them. Tell them.
No, that is not an excuse.
Okay.
We have different taste buds. And I also think that some of the street food we eat in this part of the world is also pretty sweet. Things like donkwa. And there was this thing in the...
Oh, donkwa is?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So there was this thing...
donkwa is the one you make with corn.
Yeah, there's some element of sweet in it. There was this thing that they used to tie in nylons when we were children. I can't remember what the name is. We had a lot of candy-like things. That
was brown.
Yeah. We had a
brown,
lot of candy-like things, even the fried coconut balls and things like that.
That's not sweet.
Exactly. So we are a sweet tooth country if we're being very, very honest. So we've adopted the sweet tooth from childhood. Now, as adults, we have the responsibility to ourselves to do better. While sugars are not a problem, quantity is an issue. You cannot be using 7 cubes of sugar to a small plate of gari. I mean, I get that you're a sweet tooth, but over time you will adapt if you can reduce the quantity.
Okay.
So I'm saying like maybe 2 cubes.
2 cubes?
Maybe 2, maybe 3, depending on what it is. But you should also watch your sugar intake, especially because if it's white sugar, it's just sugar. There's no other benefits that you're deriving from it compared to these other types like dates or honey that have other nutritional properties that you can benefit from.
All right, I have one last question.
Okay.
How do you reduce, what are the practical steps to reduce the sugar in our diets, especially those meals that don't obviously call out sugar or say this is sugar? How do you reduce this?
Okay, so now you're talking about added sugars.
Yes.
So for added sugars, it will be things like trying to remove sodas as much as you can. It will also mean if you go to the supermarket and pick up something from the shelf, you have a duty to read the nutrition label on it.
Oh, wow.
Nigerians don't read. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but it's the truth.
Okay.
You need to pick a food item from the shelf. If you're going to buy it, read it. You'll see food manufacturers are compelled to put those things on the label. So you see that there's some ingredient list. You also need to know the alternative names of sugar like maltose, dextrose, stabilizer, EP4, those things. Look at it. Look at the nutritional information itself. You see where sugars, added sugars are written. If it's above a certain range, drop it. You don't always have to buy it.
All right. Thank you so much. That is all that we can take for the time.
No problem.
It was an interesting and sweet conversation. I must add that.